Hi, this is Joel Clelland, the CEO of Centric. And if you want to learn the 6- and 7-figure science to success, significantly increase your revenue, and learn how to successfully build professional relationships, you should be listening to the Sell Without Selling podcast with my good friend, Stacey O'Byrne.
If you're ready to get out of your own way to follow the 7-figure science of success, then welcome to Sell Without Selling. Tune in with renowned international speaker Stacey O'Byrne as she shows you how mastering relationships, achieving the proper mindset, and attaining the necessary motivation will catapult you away from failure and onto your journey to greatness. And now, here is your host, Stacey O'Byrne.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Sell Without Selling. I'm your host, Stacey O'Byrne, and I believe that learning the art and the science of how to sell without selling is the only way to achieve high 6- and 7-figure success. Today, I'm speaking with a really good friend of mine, Joel Clelland. Joel serves as Centric's Chief Executive Officer with over 20 years of diverse career experience. Joel brings an impressive track record of leadership in various industries and capacities, including finance, education, and the nonprofit philanthropic sector. Prior to joining the Centric team, Joel built and led a successful sales, marketing, and distribution agency at World Financial Group. He additionally serves as the board chair for Project Boon, a nonprofit based in Southern California. Joel initially discovered Centric as an independent investor, introducing a unique perspective to the executive team. Joel emphasizes investor education and engagement, strategic partnerships, and market cap growth as key components to expedite protocol census. I am so excited for you to hear today's conversation with Joel. He's bright, he's brilliant. He's definitely ran the gamut through the journey of entrepreneurism with the highs and the lows. It's something him and I really can relate to. This is going to be a phenomenal conversation. Really dig in and get ready for it. And really quick, if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or sales professional, and you haven't hit the level of success that you've wanted or needed, or if you're stuck in needing a pivot in your business and your success, or you just want more, and you understand the importance of having a coach to help identify the blind spots, increase accountability, and help with success strategies to take you, your business, your income, and your success to the next level. If this sounds like something for you, then head over to pivotpointadvantage.com/I want success. That's pivotpointadvantage.com/I want success. There's a quick application there that will lead to a personal phone call with me to see if we're a great fit for each other. Okay, let's do this. Joel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You know, with your busy schedule, because I know that you are CEO of an international company, I'm blessed that you've carved out time for our listeners because your story is absolutely incredible. I mean, I've known you for a short period of time, and to see the zero to hero to zero, right back to hero, you know, the rebound.
Yep.
Because it's the resilience that entrepreneurs need. And so many give up right before they get there, right?
Definitely.
So I really want our listeners to get to know you because let's face it, in today's environment, success is, albeit simple, it can still be daunting if you don't have that drive, that tenacity, that stickability. And Lord knows you've got stickability, right? So why don't you share with our listeners your journey so that they know what it looks like to really start, want to give up, dig in, and still create what you've wanted.
For sure. I think it starts with the word yes. Make your yes, and your no. Be able to say no to the wrong things and be able to say yes with all your vigor for the right things. Since I was in 6th grade, I've been saying yes to the better version of myself. And a lot of times people think, well, what did you know in 6th grade? I said, I didn't know anything. But I knew a gentleman named Mr. Phelps, and he got me thinking. And so I've always tried to surround myself with people that have I guess a bigger mindset than I do. And I'm willing to learn. I think people who are the most successful in whatever venture they're in, whatever sector they're in, they tend to be open to learning new things, because we can't know everything. It's virtually impossible. And we can't be an expert in everything. But I think what happens is that confidence just kind of pours out of us when we are animated about certain things. Hey, I know I can do this well. I know I understand this. I can share this with others. And one of the things I've found in business and in life is that confidence gets people thinking that I know everything, which is not the case. But they want me to be their lawyer and their doctor and their priest. And what I always try to do in those situations, I say, I'm glad that you trust me like that, but I want to introduce you to somebody I trust that is an expert in that. And I think, again, that gets to having the balance between yes and no. Like, yes, I want to be the best version of myself, but no, I can't be everything to everybody.
Oh, I love that. So you said saying yes to the right things and no to the wrong things. Are there other things that you say yes to and other things that you say no to other than what's in your wheelhouse and what isn't?
I would say that's the case. I met up with one of my nieces over the weekend, and she just bought her first house. So congratulations to her. She's 22, I think.
Wow.
And she got a house that already had solar on it, and the solar was paid off. So she's not taking on that expense, but she had some questions about solar and the way things work with the energy department, utility side, and all of that. And I'm like, that's not my wheelhouse, but she trusts me. And so I just gave it a once over. My first thing was I texted her. I said, have you contacted support? Crickets. So I met up with her and I said, have you contacted support? She's like, no, I'm going to do that on Monday. I said, good. You need to talk with them. Don't talk with me. So I think what I provided to my niece was just some time for her to kind of unpack the documents that she got. Because that's one thing I do really well is read paper. I've been reading lots of paper for many, many years. And so a lot of times people think, oh, Joel, you're a lawyer. I said, absolutely not. Sometimes I dress like one, but I'm not a lawyer. But I read and I reread for context. And the one thing that I think I provided my niece, and I think I do this pretty well, is I can help people with the things that I'm not an expert in, because I'm not emotionally attached to their world. And I think that's key. Like, we can't be emotionally attached to everybody's world that we're serving, because if we are, we can't serve them. I was on a plane over the weekend. I had my 10-year-old on the plane with me. And if something were to happen, I put on my oxygen mask first before I help him. And I think the business world is exactly the same way, whether it's the for-profit or the nonprofit side. Like, absolutely. we can't be of service to people if we're concerned about everything that they're concerned about.
So what got you into the realm of entrepreneurism?
I think I've always kind of had like a propensity, if that's a good word to use for it. I know it's got a negative context, but I was pushing a lawnmower around in my old neighborhood when I was a kid. A young man who lived behind me, he lived on the street behind us. He was struggling with mathematics, and his parents asked me if I could help him. And I said, sure. And I didn't start a business around that, but I was getting compensated. I think I have a knack for finding value in the marketplace and then getting compensated for it.
Okay.
I'm not over and above being paid for service, no matter what it is. So, but I'm not always looking for it. That's the thing.
Okay.
I'm just open to it.
Have you always migrated to the financial world?
I've migrated to worlds that have money. I don't know if that's necessarily the financial world. Okay. I knew that I would need money to live the life I wanted to live. And so I thought by doing that, I would go to college and get a degree. As most of us know, that's not always going to equal money. But it definitely put me in circles with other people that kind of have the same mindset. And so educated people, but then, I mixed with people in business. I had a variety of businesses, including a mobile disc jockey business that was pretty successful.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the end of the day, what's most interesting to me is just understanding how things work, even money, because most people don't understand how money works.
They don't.
They don't even understand what money is. They just know, hey, I've got this piece of plastic. I go to the grocery store and it works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they don't really understand how money works.
But
they understand when it doesn't work.
Absolutely. And it's really important for people to really study money and wealth and really understand the flow of it, because how can you ever keep something that you don't understand or have a relationship with?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to build a bridge and jump over a few things. Since you brought it up, let's talk about money. Okay. And then I want to go back. So you had said most people don't understand it. Very seldom do people understand fractional lending and everything like that. And all of this, we just continue to build a skyscraper on sand with this concept of, I'll say in air quotes, money, right? And I'm not just talking about individuals or business owners or self-employed. I'm talking about nations and
Mm-hmm.
governments, right? So why don't you dive into just a Reader's Digest condensed version of money, and then we'll hop back in. How's that?
Sure. So if we look at money historically, people were trading shells for hundreds of years because
Mm-hmm.
they thought shells were precious.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what determines what money is where are we placing the value. And so I think we moved from shells to various types of commodities. People were trading silk. They were trading grain, things of that nature. I've been in conversations. Yeah. Well, and gold is still seen as a store of value, but we don't transact in it.
No.
We don't transact in it. I mean, I don't go to the grocery store. I have a piece of plastic or I have some paper in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I don't transact in gold or even silver, and both are considered precious.
Mm-hmm.
But for thousands of years, they have been a store of value. And I think wherever we place the value, that's what we're calling money. I mean, it could be a bucket of bananas or a goat or a cow or something like that. But the thing is like, why don't we transact in beef? Because it goes bad. We can't keep it good.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with gold. Same thing with bananas. Bananas go bad.
Mm-hmm.
The reason gold isn't a good transactional medium of exchange is because it's clunky.
Right. It's heavy.
So we moved to paper. But I think at the end of the day, we can call anything money if people are willing to accept it.
Yeah.
That's the key. And right now, what's accepted globally is paper.
Yeah.
That's backed by a government.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now you're in this world where few understand, and we'll just call it crypto, right? So people, some people look at crypto as the next .com. Some people look at crypto as the next .bomb. Some people look at it as good. Some people look at it as evil. So let's just get crypto out right now and share with us the purpose of the crypto world, because
Mm-hmm.
you're a CEO for a very large crypto company.
Correct. So the one place I would probably start is just what is it? And how did I see crypto when I started becoming an investor a couple of years ago? I saw what I thought was the future of money. Mm-hmm. And being in the financial industry, I wanted to be a part of that future money, because I'm thinking to myself, it might not be worth a lot now, but in 5 or 10 years, it's going to be fully integrated and adopted around the world. And we're already seeing countries like El Salvador saying, oh yeah, you can pay your taxes in Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not uncommon. I mean, the city of Miami has said you can pay your city fees in Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And that's just one of many cryptocurrencies that are out there. Mm-hmm. But I think if more governments start calling crypto money, then people will say, okay, I trust that money because I trust the government.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And I think that that's really what it's going to come down to. Because right now in the private sector, there are lots of companies that are accepting crypto as money.
Mm-hmm.
These digital assets.
Yeah.
Did you know there's a chamber of digital commerce?
I
Did you know
didn't
that?
know that. I didn't know.
I sat down with them earlier this week because we're thinking about joining the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fascinating to me because I thought to myself, is there a chamber for digital assets? And I just did some research, and sure enough,
wow,
there it is. They're camped out in Washington, D.C., just like a lot of other organizations.
Yep. That's
but I think it's interesting. I think if countries and more municipalities start accepting crypto as money,
mm-hmm.
then the people will follow.
Yeah.
CZ, who started Binance, which is the largest exchange in the world, he tweeted this out a couple of weeks ago, something to the effect of only about 2% of the world is using crypto or is in crypto. And so what he did is he flipped it, which is what I like to do. He's like, he saw it as opportunity. That means 98% of the world needs to be educated. Something like that. Like we need to do a better job teaching. I mean, I will be breaking things down and trying to make things as simple as possible when I'm doing group presentations about crypto. And I will have the smartest person in the room come up to me and say, Joel, that was great. I only understood about 13% of what you said. And so I know we need to get better at the education piece. Yeah. And, obviously that's a core part of who I am. I come from the education and finance worlds. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to translate for people at Centric is this is how it works. This is what it is. Mm-hmm. This is how you can use it today. This is what we see it being in the future.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So
and answering questions.
That's important. That's important for any salesperson is to be an expert in your field, to be able to answer the questions, to educate people, because you're really not a salesperson. You're an educator, right?
Yep. Exactly.
So let's jump back over to the bridge. Let's talk about the journey of being an entrepreneur. I say this on almost every interview. People see the zero to hero. People see the outhouse to penthouse. They never see the 10, 15, 20, 30 years in between, right? Mm-hmm. All they see are the big watches, the fancy cars, and then they don't understand why they don't, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about your journey. How's your journey been in entrepreneurism?
Well, it's been, I'll say it's been full of serendipity. I was in a group the other day, and a gentleman who ran the group, he said, "How did you find us?" I said, "Well, I think it was serendipity." And he started laughing because I didn't get invited to that group by a member of their group. I got invited to their group by someone who knew a member of their group.
Oh, wow.
But they were very accepting, very welcoming. But I think in that context, I was among family, if you will. Mm-hmm. I see the entrepreneurship community as like an extended family because we're all kind of a little different. We can't just ride a desk for 40 years and then drop off the other side and retire. We just can't.
No,
it doesn't work. Even when I was in college, I had to have side hustles. I had to have things that I was doing, whether it was live music, cover band, getting paid, music at churches, providing service as a piano player, or guitar player, something like that. I had to be doing something where I was not just supplementing my income, but feeling like I was making a difference. And I think that's something that has always driven me as an entrepreneur is it's exciting. It's exciting to not know if you're going to, have enough money for the bills.
or eat.
Yeah, or eat. Yeah. So I mean, it changes the energy and creates a sense of urgency. I think that's something that entrepreneurs have in themselves is that sense of urgency. And I would say that translates to every other area of our lives. Fitness, as you know, I lost about 40 pounds this last year.
Yep.
Because I chose to.
Yep.
For health reasons, for a variety of other reasons. But isn't it interesting that this opportunity at the new company opened up after I had lost the weight, after I had done the work? Like I didn't
That's
change
interesting
anything
at all.
else that I was doing. I was still networking. I was still making phone calls. I was still connecting with people regularly, but I changed a few things. It's like anytime you want to level up, anytime you want more success, just tweak something that you're doing that's right.
Yeah. I mean, reality is when we change how we show up, things show up differently. When we change how we communicate, things communicate differently. You know, it just all has to do with our focus. I'm a huge believer that we create as we speak and we create as we think. And, you know, there have been statistics that have shown how you do some things, how you do everything, and how you do the little things is how you do the big things. So how you're going to take care of yourself is how you're going to take care of others. How you really focus on self-improvement is how you're really going to focus on improving someone else's self. And I mean, I can go on. And I remember, and this is going to sound really crude, and that's the furthest from my intention. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a really big coach and really well known. So I will keep his name private. And, you know, he turned around and he goes, you know, Stace, success isn't fat. And I sat there and I went, whoa. And then when you really look back and look at, you know, the greatest out there, most of them are very fit and healthy. You know, now there's some that have very public struggles, like Oprah, right? And she's ridden that roller coaster, which is a beautiful metaphor and representation of the journey of success, right? And you know, when he said that, it really made me sit back and look. That's the epitome of how we do some things is how we do everything. So has your journey as an entrepreneur always been easy?
Oh, absolutely not. You know, there's self-doubt. There's, is this the right business? Should I even be here? Am I this guy? Yeah, I mean, there have been elements of that along the way. And it's interesting because especially in recent years, Stacey, I've always caught myself when I've been in that mindset, that negative mindset. And I've been like, what else are you going to be doing?
Right.
Are you going to be that guy who takes that straight job, and granted, I mean, technically it's a straight job. I'm in the C-suite, but it's a little different. It's a little different. We're in an emerging space, but at the end of the day, am I going to just go do X? Or do I want to get out there and hustle? Do I want to get out there and really try to make an impact for others? Because I think that's part of being an entrepreneur too, is that you want to plant your flag. You want to make your impact on the world.
Agreed.
That's huge for me.
Agreed. How has failure been instrumental to your success?
It's helped with resets.
Explain.
I want to share two failures, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Okay. And both were in one of my former businesses, financial industry. And this is before I was with the company I was most recently with. I was new in the business, hungry. And I think what happens when we're hungry and feel that almost like you're pushed up against a wall, sometimes you're more reactive rather than proactive, if you will. And I was at a death claim in the insurance industry, and it takes a special person to do death claims. And when I should have had child gloves on, I had like a baseball glove on. Like I was ready to catch some wins. You know what I mean? And I really messed up there, because instead of really being there for this widow, I was there not just to help with that, but also to say, hey, you know what? I think you need some long-term care insurance. And thankfully, her son, who's an attorney, by the way, was very kind and charitable to me, because that could have gone a totally different way. That was at the beginning of my insurance career.
Oh, wow.
Like a decade and a half plus ago. And he was very kind to me. He said, you know, my mom needs child gloves during this process.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do anything wrong, but your timing was probably poor. And I said, you're right, it was. But the thing was, I never made that mistake again. And I was actually a little bit tentative in my approach for probably a couple of years after that. And what I did when it came to death claims specifically, like, because no matter where you're at in the process, if you are good at what you do, you're going to see things that are out of place and things that need fixing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was doing a claim and the lady stopped me. The widow stopped me. And she said, Joel, can I buy more life insurance today? And I was like, oh, well, yeah, you can. You can. Are you sure you don't want to schedule this for another time when you're not emotional and grieving and all of this? No, I'd like to get some more now. And so I was able to close business at a death claim, and it totally changed my mindset. And it changed my words from, okay, goodbye, my condolences, to, is there anything else I can do for you today? Is there anything else I can do to serve you now in this moment? Is it just going to be a hug and I'm off on my way? Or are there some things that you need help with that maybe I can provide the solutions to? I think what happens a lot of times for us in the business world is we're moving so quickly. There's so many things that we're responsible for. There's so many things that we need to do that sometimes we forget everything else that we can do to serve.
Yeah, the human element.
Correct. And so that was one failure that taught me how to be better. The second one was in the last few years, actually, I had a client complain about me to the state, to the regulators. I'd never had that in my career ever. And the insurance company sided with me, the state sided with me, but I still felt horrible. And it was a horrible process. It was months and months and months of paperwork. I'm good at paper. I don't mind. So that's why people trust me. When they get paper they don't understand, they come to Joel. I read it and I make sense of it for them, send them on their way. But I think what it was is in that moment, it wasn't really a failure in business. It was a failure up here for me, because I was like, is there something I could have done to not be working with that client?
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's really what it came down to for me. And because I do care, I started second guessing myself again. And I'm like, did I do anything wrong? Did I promise anything incorrectly or inappropriately? Because in the money world, you got to be so careful what you say and tell people.
Yeah, you do.
Because if you share something with them, it's got to be accurate. And it's got to be on point. And even when you do everything correctly, you can still end up in a situation like that. You still can.
You know, it's funny because you just brought up the, I'll call it the nightmare client, right? Sometimes salespeople ignore that gut feeling that, you know, this isn't the right prospective client for me. And they move forward with it for whatever reason, the hunger, the desperation, the need, whatever, right?
Whatever it is.
Yeah. And ultimately, when you as a salesperson ignore that sense, it's inevitable. That outcome, that non-favorable outcome is potentially going to be there.
Right. The probability is higher. And it's interesting you bring that up because one of my mentors in the industry, he has that gift that you're describing in spades.
Oh, wow.
And he basically explained to me, hey, Joel, in this situation, you gotta trust that inner voice. You know what? This isn't the best fit. You know, maybe you need to work with someone else. Yeah. Maybe a different company, maybe something like that. And I think that's helpful. And I think that's also the no that we were talking about earlier, where it's like, okay, you know what? I don't have to work with everybody.
Yeah. No, and it's important that we don't.
Mm-hmm.
And which is why when you brought up it's important to say yes and it's important to say no, that's why I had asked what I had asked.
Right.
Because sometimes, most times, salespeople are afraid to say no. You know, whether they're business owners or entrepreneurs or self-employed or sales or independent sales professionals, they think they have to say yes to everything and everybody. And reality is sometimes no's better.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be somebody you know personally. It could be a referral from a trusted referral source. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is.
No.
Not every prospect needs to be one of your clients.
No. So, Joel, what do you think your number one key to success is?
Mindset, for sure. 100%. Mindset. And then my commitment to my dreams. That's huge. Huge.
Nice.
It's the things that drive me.
Okay. So I have a belief that success is 90% mindset and 10% skill set. You know, what it is we do.
Right.
It is really simple to be good at what it is you do. You take on the practical skills, you understand your prospective clients, their needs, their wants, their desires, their problems, right? Then you understand how your product, service, or solution solves it. And then you allow yourself to elevate, you know, rise to the top and be that resident expert. However, that other 90% is where all of those pitfalls are. All of those blind spots, the itty bitty shitty committee deploying in your head, that imposter syndrome, the self-sabotage, all the strategies, the procrastination. I can go on and on, right? So how do you really focus on refining and fine-tuning your mindset to drive through all that?
It's choice. I mean, there's so many choices that I make on a daily basis. And some of the things have become habits. So they're not really choices. It's just like, hey, this is what I'm doing next. You know, whether it's what I drink and eat or where and how often I meditate. I mean, there are certain things that I do, or what I'm spending my time reading and putting in. You know, put good stuff in, you can get good stuff out. You put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I still like to listen to music on the road when I'm driving, but you know, more often than not, I'm trying to put good things in no matter where I'm at, things that are going to help me as I commit to the road ahead and take care of the things I need to take care of. I think that's huge too, is making sure that we cut out the things that aren't going to help us.
Yeah, true.
Revenue generating activities. Right. Or whatever it is. I mean, anything that's going to help you be more productive, I think is the key. And then being consistent about it.
Yeah. You know, I tell my clients all the time, you have to do the RPAs during the RPTs, revenue producing activities during revenue producing times. You know, when your prospective client is available. So why would you insanely schedule anything but a revenue producing activity during the revenue producing times? And, you know, most people who sign up for the Entrepreneurial Witness Protection Program do their social media posts or their emails or their admin or anything that keeps them from exposing themselves during the most coveted time. And that's the RPTs.
Right. Or they just sit there and wait for the phone to ring, wait for the email box to fill up. Yeah. It's like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
No. So you being a CEO today of a financial company and having been a leader in direct sales companies, what is it that makes a salesperson a good salesperson?
There's got to be desire. You got to have a desire to be as good as you can be. I was having a conversation with a gentleman who runs a marketing agency earlier today, and he's successful, But the one thing that we were talking about was related to this is that you cannot be everything to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to decide who they are. Am I going to be a good salesperson today?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to be a good salesperson this week and this month?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's choices that need to be there. And not everybody's willing to do it. I think is half the battle.
No.
There's got to be a willingness to be successful. Success doesn't just happen.
No, there's got to be a willingness backed by determination, backed by the acceptance that you can't know everything, and that there's more that you don't know that you don't know. And it's what you don't know that you don't know that's going to be the tidal wave.
Correct.
And really surrounding yourself in environments to where you can be lifted up, expose those blind spots, learn what it is you don't know that you don't know, and always develop yourself. Because if you don't develop yourself, then your competition's going to out-communicate you, out-lead you, outsell you, out-represent you, out-market you. And if you're constantly struggling with that mindset, then you're going to continue to probably make one of the biggest mistakes that most make, and that's compare yourself to them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So I'm curious, what advice would you give someone who is struggling, who's either starting out and struggling getting the momentum, or has been hit by, the environment of the pandemic and is really struggling to get that momentum? What advice can you give that person?
I'd probably start with don't give up before the miracles happen. And I'll tell you why, because I think most people give up or they start to transition before they have their big wins.
Yeah.
And be willing to pivot. Pivot point advantage, right?
No
be willing to pivot. We did a lot of that during the pandemic. People either pivoted or they sat still, waiting to be told what to do. In business, in life, you can't wait.
No.
You become a waiter. One of my mentors used to say that. Yeah, if you wait, you become a waiter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You need to take action on the things that you need to take action on. And most of it has to do with this. It's like, if this is a mess, you're going to be in big trouble really fast.
Yeah. I own several businesses and I deal with an immense amount of entrepreneurs. And I remember the second week of March in 2020, when they did a federal order to stay safe at home. And I watched so many entrepreneurs wave the white flag and put their dreams, their businesses, their financial journeys on hold, and said, you know what, I'll pick this back up when we get to the other side of this.
Right. Not happening, is it?
No, now we're 18 months down the road, and these people are running out of the federal subsidies. They're running out of their nest eggs. And if there's any advice that I believe that we can give you is, the faster you get going, the faster you focus on what it is you want as opposed to what it is you don't want, the faster you do the work to get your mind right, the faster you'll start seeing and getting the results.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely.
One of the things I think people need to hear, and if this is you, if Stacey and I are, referencing your situation right now, is you need to remember who you were before the pandemic.
Yep.
Remember what you know.
Yep.
You need to reapply the things that you're already good at, the tools you already have in your toolbox. You need to get those working for you and expand your network. Talk to everybody you know. Find out how you can add value to people, because that's going to help you win when we come out the other side of this, because there are already people that are hustling. Some people never stopped hustling.
Yeah.
during the pandemic. I mean, Stacey, you and I got to know each other better during the pandemic. We
Yeah.
met before,
Yep.
briefly, but we got to know each other a lot better during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Relationships. It's really important. You hear this in multiple variations, that we're the sum total average of the five people we spend the most time with.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really look at your center of influence. Are they visionary communicators? Or are they really looking at the past and complaining about it? Do they have excuses? Or do they have dreams and ideas? Do they take action? Or do they just blow a bunch of smoke and talk about it? Really look at who you're surrounding yourself with. Look at their habits. Look at their drive, their dreams. Look at what it is they do. Because, reality is, if you're surrounding yourself with people who dish out excuses, well, you might want to record yourself when you talk. And then really take a look at how many excuses you deliver.
Right. It's interesting. Most of us know the analogy of the crabs in the bucket.
Yeah.
One crab tries to get out, they all pull him back in. And many of us have come from families like that, where we're just not getting a lot of support on the home front. But I kind of flipped this analogy yesterday for myself, because I thought crabs are cool. They've got claws and they're armored. So be that crab that is not resigned to remain in the bucket. And don't let anybody tell you you can't do something, or you aren't something that you see yourself as.
Yeah. I saw a metaphor the other day. It's a meme that's flying around social media. And it was about a mouse that found this bucket of grain and just felt that it had won the lottery, and it was sitting on top of the grain, and it knew it could eat forever, and it kept eating and eating and eating and eating until it found itself at the bottom of the bucket with no food.
Oof.
And then it couldn't get out of the bucket because the bucket was too high. And the moral of the metaphor, because now that mouse has to sit there and wait for someone else to put food in the bucket. So the moral of the metaphor was, never get comfortable. Always know that the only person that can ever feed you is you. And if you put yourself in a situation where you have to wait for someone else to take care of you, it might be too late. So it was a beautiful metaphor. So you keep bringing up mentoring. So let's talk about how coaching and mentoring has really helped you in your journey to success.
I've had good mentors, and I won't call them bad mentors, but mentors that weren't quite as helpful for me. Then the interesting thing about people in your care is everybody requires a different type of care. I guess, they're prodigies or people that we're working that are in our care that maybe are very independent, and they check in periodically because they have a question. But then there are other people who kind of want you to be there, like holding their hand every step of the way.
Yeah.
And for me, I've always kind of gravitated toward the first type of mentor, where I just want to get some advice. I'm willing to get to work. I'm willing to work hard, do the work, whatever it is. But I want to have somebody who's a good sounding board. And I think one of the things that's been a challenge for me in my new role is I haven't had it really easy finding mentors. But the great thing about this is I kind of hit the jackpot over the last couple of weeks in that department.
Nice.
So
nice.
I think you got to not just be hungry about the hustle and hungry about money. You should be hungry about growth. And there are different ways to grow. You can grow on your own with the right materials. But I think that having somebody in your life that won't BS you and will also kind of give you that advice when needed, I think is invaluable.
I think that in order to be successful, we have to have a potpourri of of a development strategy.
I like that.
I think first we have that self-development mode. That self-development mode could be reading, podcasts, YouTube. It could be downloadable home study courses or at your own pace courses. And then the other sector is the online, the digital trainings and courses, and the live trainings, something that's facilitated by an expert. So I think that's the second. And then the third is that coaching / mastermind arm. And whether it's in a group or individual, there's no right or wrong. In some aspects, groups are very powerful because then you get that diversification of thought.
Right. And cohort.
Yeah. And accountability. Absolutely. And then from the perspective of the individual, you get that mano a mano, you get that focus. Now, it's really important to understand a coach will never should never tell you what to do. A coach's job is to extract that excellence. That's what a coach's job is, right? And, they're there, they see, they're not in the day-to-day minutia. So because of that, they can see all perspectives. From your perspective, however, they can see the blind spots. And a coach's job, a mentor's job is to extract them. And that's where true success happens. I have a coach for every area of my life. And yeah. For me, I have a coach that really calls me on my shit. And I'm in a couple group events. I'm in a lot of one-on-one events. I make sure that in order to represent excellence, I surround myself with excellence.
I can relate with that.
Yeah. And, it's for me, I have to tell you, for every dollar I've invested in myself, it's paid me back tenfold. And I can never understand why people convince themselves they can't, or they shouldn't, or they can't afford it.
Right.
Because if you're in a position where you can't afford it, then I'm going to tell you, you're in a position where you need to figure out
you need it.
Afford it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I had opportunity to go to this junket, we'll call it that, in New Orleans a few years ago. And that was a point in my business when I was having some struggles. And I could have just said, oh, okay, well, I can't afford to go. But I flipped it. I said, how can I afford to go? How can I make this happen? And I got on a train. I got in a bus. I did whatever I had to do to get there.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I did, because I heard a speaker there named Scott Harrison. Do you know who that is? Scott started an organization called Charity Water, and he has a book called Thirst. And he's cut from our stock. He's an entrepreneur. He used to be a club promoter, DJ, that kind of thing, musician, entrepreneur. But what he did with Charity Water is he set up a part of Charity Water where every dollar you give to Charity Water goes to the projects to bring clean water to the emerging world. Then he has a separate business plan for outside sponsors to pay for the overhead.
Oh, wow.
Where a lot of charities, like a certain percentage goes to overhead, every dollar and every penny goes to the good work they do. I like that I didn't give up on committing to going to that event in New Orleans, because I wouldn't have seen him. I probably wouldn't know who he is. And he's been instrumental in just kind of, I mean, I'm not going to say he's a hero to me. He's a hero to lots of people everywhere.
Right.
But I introduced his story to a lot of people because I heard it there.
Nice. So, Joel, welcome to the signature question of the show. And that is, what does selling without selling mean to you?
If I feel like I'm selling, I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
I try to educate everybody I come in contact with, so that they can make informed decisions on their own. And then they tell me what they want.
Nice. Nice.
So I wouldn't say it's Jedi mind tricks, but it's helping people understand what it is they need and then helping them get that.
Well, reality is it may not be a Jedi mind trick. However, it is a science, because if
Definitely.
if your mindset isn't tight, if your mindset is focused on what it is you need as opposed to what it is they need, then that salesy thing is going to come out. It's going to come out in a lot of ways: desperation or arrogance or naiveness or unprofessional, or I can go on and on, right?
Yeah.
So
I've heard that the term closing is helping.
Yeah, closing is serving.
I think the word close or closing is a negative term for a lot of people in business, and I don't think it should be, because if we're closing, we're helping.
See, I have a belief that when we close, we're closing down their problems. That's
closing down the problem. I like that.
Yeah. So, it's funny because sometimes I ask our guests, what's the difference between selling and closing to you? And we get in a pretty deep conversation about it. And for me, closing is just all about just closing down the problem. That's it. That's it. So welcome to the random round. See, I believe that success leaves clues. And I like to ask a question to our expert guests so that our listeners can determine anything that they can apply to self to elevate their life. So I'm curious, what is your favorite book and why?
It used to be Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. But it's not that anymore. I do like that book, and I like his story because, people who aren't familiar with Viktor Frankl, he was in the Nazi prison camps in World War II. He found meaning for his life in a prison camp by helping others. Again, he was a servant leader. My most recent book that I've really liked has been Crypto Revolution by Bryce Paul and Aaron Malone, also known as Pizza Mind. And I like that book a lot because it was the last book I read before I started my new journey with Centric.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I like that. So one more question.
Yep.
What does your morning ritual look like?
I'm up by about 5 o'clock every day. Sometimes earlier, sometimes slightly later, but very rarely do I sleep in past 6. And so I get up fairly early. I take care of the things I need to take care of, leave the things behind that I need to leave behind, air quotes. And then I spend some time in prayer, meditating. I do a little bit of reading, very little reading. And then I hydrate big time for the day. I think most humans are dehydrated, and that's, we think we're hungry when we're really just dehydrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm off to the races. I normally have meetings starting by 8 o'clock every day.
Yeah, because you do a lot of your work in Europe, right?
Correct. And the East Coast. And the East Coast is 3 hours ahead of me. I'm in just outside of Los Angeles. So, but yeah, with the people that are in Europe, and then the people I have on the other side of the planet in Australia and Indonesia and Singapore and places like that, they're about a half a day to a day ahead.
Yeah.
And so, I think at the end of the day, just being willing to connect with all of my people wherever they're at, I think is significant. But that's like most of my day is meetings. But then I was on an AMA earlier today before getting on your program with my COO. And so we had almost 200 people there, virtual, asking questions, just kind of, there were a lot of investors, I'm sure, on the call, based on their questions, but just people who are interested in what we're doing. So we try to do that periodically. And then, we're always spending time on education and building partnerships. So the partnerships piece is probably dominates most of my time.
Gotcha.
Partnerships and advisory.
Mm-hmm. So with you operating across the globe with international time zones, how do you maintain that work-life harmony? Because you have kids.
I do.
And you have a wife.
And I'm married.
Yes.
Yes, that's true. It's interesting. I got a text earlier. I'm sure my lovely wife won't mind me sharing this. I was restructuring my schedule so that I could do a bi-coastal meeting in the car to take my 16-year-old to the orthodontist. And that was going to be middle of this afternoon, sometime after we're done. I got a text a little bit before you and I hopped on, and she said she was taking him to the orthodontist. So I think having balance on the home front is huge, and you got to have an understanding.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we work together. We're not just parenting buddies. We're also partners.
Yeah.
But I mean, she understands what I contend with.
Good.
And is understanding. But I work very long days.
Yeah, you do. And
Very
support.
Most of the time when I'm up when it's dark, and I'm normally home when it's dark.
Yeah. support at home, support with our families, support with our significant other, support from our kids, and an understanding is highly important. And the reverse of that is mutually respecting them as well, and being present when they need or want or desire your attention.
Right. Well, like I think I shared over the weekend, I took my 10-year-old on a trip with me.
Yeah.
It would have been much easier for me to go on that trip by myself.
Yeah.
But he came along. He'd never been on a jet before.
Wow.
So he just loved the whole journey, and got a cool car that we rented at the airport on the other side. So he had a lot of fun. But I think taking our kids along on the journey, I think, is huge. We shouldn't miss those opportunities. And I know I have in the past, but every opportunity I have to be with my kids, no matter where it's at, especially the weekends. The weekends I kind of have carved out for us, although we are understanding, especially because the other side of the world starts when we're on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just kind of being aware of those things. I think I always say I don't have a day off. I choose to be on and off at different times. But I'm always ready to serve, but I love my family, and I do what I have to do.
Great.
I don't have time off.
Yeah. Well, I'm
just on.
Yeah. You really need to manage that self-care, because you've got one machine to drive your success.
And that's why the morning is so significant.
Yep.
It's critical. It's critical.
Absolutely. Joel, it's been phenomenal speaking with you today. I really appreciate you coming on the show. If our listeners want to find you, reach out to you, connect with you, follow you, how can they?
The best way to connect with me is on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @RealClelland or @RealClelland, depending on how you pronounce it. @RealClelland on Twitter. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm not difficult to find. I do have a presence on some of the other platforms, but I don't use them as much.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Your success is important to me, and it's also important to me to make sure that these episodes are valuable to you. I would love for you to do a few things right now. I'd love for you to hop over to Instagram and follow us at Pivot Point Advantage. That's hop over to Instagram and follow us at Pivot Point Advantage. Second, I'd love it if you'd head over to Facebook and join our Sell Without Selling community. That's head over to Facebook and join our Sell Without Selling community. We have an immense amount of interaction on both platforms. We also share different information on both platforms, so we look forward to seeing you there. Last and definitely not least, I love to chat with you, give feedback on the episodes, and find out any topics that you're interested in to help make this podcast more powerful and helpful to you achieving the success you've always dreamed of, desired, and deserved. Head over to pivotpointadvantage.com/talk to Stacey. That's pivotpointadvantage.com/talk to Stacey. Let's get a 15-minute call on the schedule. I look forward to getting to know you. Always remember this. Choice is a powerful thing, and suffering is always optional. Get out of your way so that you can get on your way, so you can finally have your way. Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Whether it's mastering your mindset, communication, or success, we have more ways to keep you on your journey to greatness. Be sure to visit us at pivotpointadvantage.com for exclusive online training programs, success-specific courses, and more ways to connect to Stacey directly to help you achieve the financial success you've always desired, dreamed, and deserved. That's all available on pivotpointadvantage.com.